I made a discovery yesterday. I had no idea there was a petrified forest in California. I know there's a big one that's pretty famous in Arizona, but so I took a walk out here and I was kind of taken back in time to a period where this volcanic mountain blew up 3.4 million years ago and buried all the trees, knocked down all the redwoods. But I also took some time to enjoy the existing trees on this beautiful little park. It's a privately owned park, and there's considerable compaction from all the people who have been walking through here for such a long time. Some of the trees are labeled, and it's a bit of a nature walk. I enjoyed it. Sadly, this area was impacted from the Tubbs fire back in 2017, and a lot of the forest is pretty sad. You see a lot of burnt trees. Some of them came back. Some of them the fire missed. But this is interesting. Most of the trees are redwoods, but this one tree somehow they identified it as a pine tree. It's the only petrified pine tree in this particular area. And each of these trees had to be excavated. So at one point in time, I think it was around 1870 when this property was first owned, the guy that owned it discovered some of these trees. And there's a lot of history here. This is really close to Calistoga. Look at that. Compaction. That tree's not long for this world. Right there on the trail. But, it's a survivor. But look at how green it is. That's amazing. The petrified wood here is primarily from an extinct species of redwood tree. Be sure to stop the video and read these signs. It was a very interesting place to visit. And if you've never been here, I highly recommend it. Talks a lot about the wood, talks a lot about how they excavated and opened it up. Some of these trees are, you look at them, they're almost like cut up firewood, but they're stone, rock stone. Little guy of the forest there. I think that's well done. They're all labeled. A lot of these trees have got a label to them. That talks a bit more about the type of redwood. Look at that. You can almost read the bark. And some of the details that are no longer wood are now stone through the whole process of the petrification from all the ash that settled. And look at this giant tree. This is just magnificent. There's another one that they talk about. It's all broken up in sections, but can you imagine discovering this a long time ago, back in the 1870s, and coming to the conclusion that these are actually the remains of trees? Oh, this little area was pretty cool. This tree is kind of tucked away in an excavation that's turned into a little grotto. That's water sitting back in there. It's like a little hidden pond in there. Like I said, each of these trees are knocked down from this volcanic explosion, and all the logs were in one direction. This is really interesting that there's a sort of a tunnel down here that they excavated out. I have no idea when this was done, but it looks like it goes back probably, 100 years or so. There's a lot of history. You have to go there to read the history of who owned the property and when it was sold and how they've dealt with it. It's like a 500-acre piece of property. There's a little bit of a grotto there. I can almost hear the rattlesnakes all around me. And there's a lot of history in this property. Apparently this was one of the first trees that was discovered, and the author Robert Louis Stevenson befriended the owner of this property and came up here. And apparently he wrote about it in one of his books. And if you look really closely at some of these trees, you can actually see what at one time was the grain of the wood, and it's all been replaced by different minerals. Some of the details in the wood, you can almost see the bark. You can almost see the the different aspects of these logs. And this one's cool. If you look really close, I looked inside this little bit of a hollow in the tree, and if you look really, really close, you can see there we go. Look at that. That was wood at one time. When you think about it, 3,400,000 years ago, this was a living forest of all these redwood trees that are no longer here. The signs kind of tell a good story. I love history. And the Tubbs fire went through here, and there's a lot of trees that survived the fire. And of course, there's a little gift shop. I thought this was quite beautiful. This was a cut piece and polished, and it's hanging on the wall. And if you look really closely, you can count all the rings. And if you were clever, you could go back in time in your mind and see what the weather patterns were like. This tree is in the front of the property, and apparently 100 years ago, this tree was estimated to be 550 years old. How he was able to estimate it is beyond me that long ago, but it is a significant old Valy Oak. They do have a problem that it's been asphalted around, and its lifespan has been significantly shortened because of the introduction of people. Look at how rotted it is on the inside here, but it's still hanging in there. Sometimes I find these old rotted specimens that are still surviving. I just find them amazing. Beautiful, beautiful tree. There it is from a distance. And the property is currently for sale. So any of you guys out there want to take on a new business, California, good luck.